And just like that, bam, we're live. Look at you, all grainy. Did you pay your internet, Kevin?
Am I grainy? My internet should be good.
All
Maybe it's
right.
just my laptop.
All right. Or maybe you're just grainy.
Who knows?
Dude, as I'm showering today, sudsing up the hairy spots, I was thinking, there's this sentiment in the community that like, oh my God, I'm so glad Dave's still there at CrossFit. And I was thinking, I have that similar sentiment to you. You've been around forever, and knowing that people like you are intimate with the mothership gives me a sense of security, because I know that you got OG roots, you understand the methodology, you understand the culture, and I just want to say thank you. I did not survive. I was a weaker warrior than you, but you are a beast, and I appreciate you holding down the fort. And I know it hasn't been. I know it's been a fun and challenging ride, and you're killing it, dude. As now as the director of the CrossFit Games, it's pretty
Thanks,
fucking
man.
cool, dude.
That's
Yeah.
like I think it's like the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Well, I mean it, but I get very sentimental in the shower. It doesn't always make it to the podcast, but I get very sentimental in the shower.
Yeah, I mean it's been a fun ride. I mean challenges for sure, but just trying to, do the same stuff that Greg always used to teach us, like do the right thing for the right person for the right reason. So it's the only thing you need to do.
And you've gotten as much out of CrossFit as just about anyone can, right?
Dude,
Fitness, friends, share service. I mean, you've got a profession, food on your plate. I mean, you've really made a lot of it.
dude, it's yeah. I don't know if I could ever. Me and Chase Ingrid talk about it all the time. Like we have like an unpayable debt to the CrossFit community. Like I don't know. I could work for the rest of my life for everyone in the community. I still don't think I'd pay back a tenth of what I owe it.
And the cool thing is, because you impact so many people, I bet you a ton of people, including myself, feel that way about you. It's like, oh, thank God he's in there doing the service.
Trying,
Yeah, you
trying to do
are.
the best I can.
Hey, it's been people like me and you know each other's journeys intimately because we've watched each
Mhm.
other. But I want to go back to little kid Ogar and talk about your roots, and,
Yeah,
and just talk about how you got here, and then talk a little bit about the CrossFit Games, the direction it's going, and things like
mhm.
that.
Sounds good.
So where were you born?
I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Oh, okay, good spot. That was a good spot back then, right?
Sure. I mean, I only lived there for I think a few months, but yeah,
And then
it's
where'd you
great.
go?
I grew up in St. Louis, like right outside St. Louis City.
And what was childhood like for you? What were your passions? What did you do as a kid? Did you have siblings?
I got an older brother, younger sister, and I got all the athletic genes, and they got all the brains. So I played sports, and they did good in school. So
And
I grew up playing sports. That's what I did.
you were a big kid, tall, gifted,
Yeah,
genetically, broad shoulders.
yeah. Always been a little bit bigger. I think by the time I was like seventh or eighth grade, I was hitting 6 foot, maybe a little over.
And did you know what you wanted to play at that time? Had you started honing in on like a passion of what your sport was going to be?
At that time, my passion was basketball. I mean, that's all I wanted to do was play basketball. Like dribble tennis balls around, take shots at every chance I had. Parents got me a basketball hoop when I was younger, and then realized when I was about like probably 12 or 13 years old that I was pretty scrawny. Like being 6 foot and 130 pounds doesn't really bode well for most sports. So um, asked for a weight set when I was like 12 or 13. My parents got me one, put it in the basement, and I started lifting.
And who was your kind of your mentor for weightlifting? Was it just the traditional stuff that we all did, back, buys, chest, all that stuff?
Um, I would say that my mentor was stubbornness. More than likely. I mean, I read a bunch of like when I was like 12, 13, I just kind of read some stuff from like basketball coaches that they had their team lift. I just read a bunch of their articles and started doing that stuff like that. And then got into high school. I wasn't a huge fan of the football coaches we had at our high school. I really didn't. I only played for like a year and a half for football. And when I say stubbornness was my mentor, I was determined not to do their weightlifting program, which probably wasn't the smartest thing in the world, but I was determined to try to figure something else out besides what they were doing, and so did a lot more studying on like strength and conditioning stuff.
So That's interesting. That shows that you're a good fit for CrossFit. So you were already a contrarian. You weren't down there doing what we were doing, the Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff. Like you knew right away, hey, I need to do some stuff that I need to work out like a basketball player,
Hmm.
and I need to plow my own route, and I need to be. You were a contrarian to what they were just having you do, the factory
Uh,
weightlifting.
yeah, contrarian, maybe just a shithead. I don't know, like if there's much of a difference there, but definitely didn't like being told what to do.
And then what was how much did you practice hard as a kid in the off season? Were you practicing like were you like, hey, I am a basketball player? Did you think of yourself, okay, I'm a basketball player. I'm going to
Yeah, I mean,
get a college scholarship or something?
I wanted to. Yeah, like but I played other sports. Like I ran track, the 400, high jump, swimming, things like that. I wasn't really good at I tried baseball, wasn't very good at it. But like I was good at the sports that you could train for because I think I was better at training for sports than I was actually at sports. So I don't think I was good enough to actually. I mean, maybe could have gone to like a junior college or something like that to play basketball, but I don't think I was good enough to do much else outside of that. And then after high school, found rugby and realized that I
Mm.
was very good at crashing into other people at full speed.
So you were en route to be a CrossFitter because those are some important things right there, right? Those are the guys we're seeing succeed now. People who have played maybe one sport seriously, but also could swim. We're
Hmm.
on the track team. You know, you hear a lot of CrossFitters will be like, "Hey, I was a blah 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 player, but I did the track team in high school also just to stay in shape." And then now,
Yeah,
as elite CrossFitters, we're like, "Wow, they can do it all. They have they can swim, they can run, and then they also have the athleticism. They got it all." So you were en route.
yeah. It's almost like kids should have a really good base of general physical preparedness, and then like branch out into sports as they want to specialize as they get older. Maybe something like that. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. Hey, in which as you're doing these sports, which culture did you like the best? The swim culture, the basketball culture, the rugby culture? Did you like being alone working out in your basement?
Um, I would probably say rugby or track culture was probably my favorite. Like
Interesting.
basketball
Totally
culture,
different, right? Totally different on opposite
yeah,
ends, but you like both of them.
yeah. I mean, like with basketball, they were cool, and I have a lot of good like lifelong friends that I played basketball with growing up, and they're awesome guys. It's just um, like like the training outside of basketball was never their thing. Like and that's probably why they're better at me. They spent a lot more time working on like their skills and drills, and I spent a lot more time just running hill sprints and trying to be stronger. But like with rugby, it's really close like knit group of guys. Like I'm still really close friends with a lot of those guys that I played in college with. So you get really close to those guys. It's a team sport where like you really have to rely on the person next to you. Like you're in a scrum and like you have thousands of pounds of force on your shoulder, and you have to really trust that the guy two people back is going to drive and do their job. Otherwise, you're going to get smashed. So I really dug that. Or like I've had someone punch me in the face, and then we were best friends off the pitch. Like I like that kind of culture. Like work hard, bust each other up, but also realize like the game's the game.
Yeah.
Um, and I like the track culture specifically because the guys I ran track with some really, really fast guys and really great high jumpers. And the work ethic on those guys was insane. And I just liked that version of the culture where like the only thing that was important in track was your work. Like, how hard did you work?
Um, that's a great those are leadership lessons, right? To get punched in the face by someone and then be their friend afterwards. Like that's something you
Yeah.
carry. That's going to be a lifelong lesson because there's going to be people like that. People who get ahead seem to be able to do that their whole life. They're able to fight with people but also be their friends.
I mean, to be fair, my dad's side of the family is Polish, so like punching me in the head doesn't do much. So
Uh
it's true.
are both your parents still alive, Kevin?
Yeah, both of my parents still alive, still married, living in St. Charles, Missouri. I go see them fairly often.
So good roots, good foundation.
Yeah, I do. I couldn't have asked for better parents. Like my dad was always around, always coached all our sports. Like he coached me through like soccer, baseball, basketball, like any sport I played when I was younger. He helped coach, even if he didn't know the game. He studied it and tried to learn as much as he could about it. Like I get a lot of my work ethic from my parents, and like he worked multiple jobs to make sure we were provided for. My mom worked her ass off at home to make sure we were taken care of, and they did a great job of like not babying us. Like I always joke, like we would get in trouble, and my dad would drop the hammer, and then my mom would make us go sit down. I had a desk outside my room where I had to write down like what I did wrong, why it was wrong, how I could approach like the situation differently. And so it was like a good mix of like getting the hammer dropped on you, but also having to think through the situation critically.
You had a little desk outside your bedroom door,
Oh
just like
yeah,
in the hallway?
yep. Just had to sit there and write down what I like.
Dude,
Boom, there it is.
dude, I might do that. That is awesome.
It was. I remember that desk to this day. I would sit there with a piece of paper and I had to write down, answer all these questions before I was allowed to get up.
So you're growing up, you're doing sports. Did that keep you out of trouble? Do you think that sports kept you out of trouble as a boy? Like I have these 3 boys, and I'm like, man, you got to keep these dudes busy. They will get into anything.
I think I would have gotten in a lot more trouble had I not had sports, and had I not trained as much, I would have been a lot slower and probably would have got caught more. So,
Oh, interesting.
I mean, I don't know. My parents seem to think I was a good kid. I think I was kind of a shithead when I was growing up and broke a lot of rules and didn't do all the things I should have. But I guess that's just growing up as a teenager in the middle of Missouri. So
You seem like the guy who could talk your way out of trouble too. Like you could put your arm around
I
someone and
did.
be able
I
to do that.
talked my way out. Yeah, I don't really think I did homework for like my last 2 years of high school because I convinced them that if I could pass the test, my teachers, I convinced them that if I passed the test, then what's the point of homework? Because I already know the material. So no.
Oh, good job. Yeah.
I mean, I got arrested one time for having beers in my back pocket when I was like
Mm,
17.
mm.
But that was it.
They put the handcuffs on you?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have to call your parents?
No, I called my girlfriend at the time. She came pick me up, but then the cop showed up at my door to make sure my parents found out about it. So,
Missouri.
yep.
Can talk your way out of that, huh?
Dude, that's
Could not
awesome.
talk my way out of that one. No, sir.
So you finish high school, and you got all these sports, and then that's when you started rugby?
Yep. Started rugby end of my freshman year of college. I
And
was
how did
my lifting partner at the time is big dude from South Africa. Played rugby in South Africa. I was still still powerlifting, and I was lifting with him, and he's like, "You should try rugby," and I was like, "I've never heard of it," and went and watched a game with them, and I was like, "Oh, so like no pads, I get to crash into people as hard as I want to, get some aggression out. I'm in." So started playing rugby.
and how long did you play that?
I played rugby through the rest of college, and then like 2 or 3 years after college, out here in Colorado.
Oh, what, did you get a scholarship out there?
No, there was like a men's team out here called the Glendale Raptors that was right across the street from where I moved here in Colorado, and just walked on the team and just wanted to play rugby, and they needed props, and that's the position I played, so I got lucky.
What did you study in college?
Which time and
Right.
so I
Right.
never actually graduated college. I am not a huge fan of our school systems as they sit, and so probably again very contrarian at that point. So I went into college studying like psychology, secondary education, and with a minor in German, and then realized about 3 years in that I didn't want to do anything with any of that, and so just started taking classes for like the next 4 years that I thought was important and fun. So like biochemistry, human anatomy, physiology, exercise science, public speaking, things like that.
Because those were the things that interested you.
Yeah, I mean, by that time, we'll call it my second stint in college, I'd always wanted to be a coach. Since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be a coach. I'm probably from watching my dad coach and falling in love with it. But always wanted to coach people. And so by the time I got kicked out of college the first time, and then went back into college, that's how I found CrossFit actually. And so I'd already realized I wanted to coach people in CrossFit. And so I just went into classes and subjects that I thought was going to make me a better coach.
How many years was your grad stint? How many years were you an undergrad for like?
I was an undergrad from like 2004 till 2010.
Yeah, okay. I had a 7-year stint as an undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome.
I mean,
I went
I
to
looked into it.
I went to 3 different schools. It was dope. Yeah.
Same. I went to 3 different colleges. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't graduate either. I didn't graduate,
Yeah.
but I had a great time. Oh my god, did I have a good time.
I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about myself and how to deal with people in that 7-year stint of college. I always go back to what's that, Tommy Boy. A lot of people go to college for 7 years.
Were
Those are
you good?
doctors.
What did you say, Caleb?
So those are doctors.
Oh, right. Not guys with beers in their back pockets. Hey, were you a good student? Did you know how to? I was not a good student. Even when I tried, like I would try my hardest for like a quarter at the beginning of every year since kindergarten. I would try my hardest for a quarter, and then I would just get C's and D's, and I'd be like, "This is crazy. I'm trying so hard."
I was a good test taker. I don't
Uh-huh.
think I was a good student.
So like you knew the game.
Yeah, I could take tests really well. I mean, I learned, like, especially if I was interested in it, it was fairly easy for me to learn things. I didn't understand the need for all the homework, and so I would try to talk my way out of it, or just kind of ignore the homework and just hope that they graded the tests high enough that I could pass the class with just the tests. But I just I didn't understand if I already understood the information, why I'm just doing repetitive nonsense to be busy work.
Yeah. But did you like school?
When I like the subject, I love school. Like I actually should say I don't necessarily love school with the way our system's set up, but I love learning. I love studying things. Like I'm a consummate nerd. I still like to read textbooks on occasion. I like to learn things.
I like going there for the friends. I like seeing the people. Like I would be motivated. I would get up in the morning and be like, dude, I get to go see my friends. I'd be so excited.
Yeah, no, I would
No.
I don't think it was the people. I think a lot of people that would annoy me in class with stupid questions, and so I would get annoyed by them. But I like learning the information.
Did you go to the prom and the ball in high school? Did you participate in those things?
Yeah. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, in my high school, I was voted most spirited and biggest bookworm for my high school superlatives.
Wow, no shit. Wow.
Mhm.
And when they say bookworm, you were the dude who'd just be reading your own shit just at lunchtime? You'd have a book and just be reading?
Yeah, I just carried around a book with me and kind of read it at all times, and probably got in trouble a few too many times because I was reading the book in class instead of paying attention. But that's what I was interested in.
Are you still a big reader?
Yeah, I still read all the time. Usually reading a couple books at a time.
What about audiobooks?
I generally don't listen to music in my car. I usually listen to like either lectures or books when I'm driving places.
Damn. Okay, so you have a thirst, and that's a thirst. You have a thirst. You want to be stimulated like that.
Yeah, I mean, I like music you can tune out and it's fun, and I do enjoy music, but it's way more fun. I think it's way more fun understanding things around you, or digging into stuff that you're interested in.
I had Rich on here, Kevin, and I hope I'm saying this right, but I think he's going through every single U.S. president's biography.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty inspiring, right? And I think he's crushing it. I think he's moving at quite a fast clip.
That's a lot of biographies.
Yeah, crazy, right? But I think, and then he's talking about reading the Federalist Papers. I wonder if that dude's going to run for office. Would you vote for Rich?
I think I would vote for Rich.
Yeah,
I think he's I don't know how, like, to me, every time I've met him, he's a super nice and honest guy. So I don't know how well he's going to like politics, but I would vote for him just because he's nice and honest.
Yeah, I like him because he has I like values. I'm in a whole values kick.
Mm-hmm.
I just love it that he has values.
Yeah.
Do you have values? Do you know what your values are?
I 100% know what my values are. Yeah.
And how was that introduced to you by someone? Was someone like, "Hey, you need values," and you're like, "What? I don't need those." Like, when did you learn about values?
I mean, like, again, I have a great set of parents from Missouri. I grew up in the Christian church. I've always been a Christian. That's where I get a lot of my moral values from. That's where I get a lot of my guidance from, is reading scripture and figuring out what God calls us to do and how we're supposed to do it.
And you think that when your behavior, I don't know if this is the right word, comports with your values, life is at its best? Is that why you stick to them?
Best, yes. Easiest, no. I'm very aware, like, if you've read any kind of scripture, you're never promised an easy life. You're promised a joyful life, and they're two different things. And like, I don't necessarily want an easy life. I want a life of purpose, which ends up being a joyful life. So like, it can be a lot harder holding to your values, but it's always worth it.
And do you own an affiliate still?
Yep, still own CrossFit Watchtower. I'm there now.
CrossFit Watchtower.
Mm-hmm.
And is that in Missouri?
No, I'm just outside Denver.
Okay. And do you run that? Do your values play a huge role in how you run that gym, the culture of that gym?
100%. Yeah, that's, I mean, kind of the reason I want to start a gym. Like if you read scripture at all, you read more like about how we're supposed to help other people and help those who need it. And so I opened Watchtower to help those who needed it. And I thought fitness was the best way to do it because that's the thing I knew the best. So we're not really here to create, as cool as they are, not really here to create games athletes per se. We're here to take people who could really use fitness, whether that be from coming back from injury, any kind of mood disorder, any kind of physical disability, or just like have let life get away and like wants to get back to being healthy. Like we're here to help the people who actually need it.
So you have a fondness or a you don't mind starting with coal and turning it into a diamond like that. That's the continuity and everything you just said there is like, yeah, bring me the people who need the most help. Let me tinker with those people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the most fun, and they're like the most hard charging, awesome community you could build. But also, like, I mean, I spent time, training for the games and trying to get 17 muscle ups instead of just 16 muscle ups, and it was cool. But like, what's cooler than having someone come in who hasn't left? I mean, we have stories like this who hadn't left their house for 3 years, and their first place they're coming is coming into my gym and trying to figure out how to get back on their feet, and we get to be a part of that life and journey and guide them to being a better person. And like, I don't like, that's way cooler to me. We have another guy who like didn't tie his shoe for 10 years because he couldn't reach it. And now he's tying his shoes. Like we just like, I don't get spun up about elite athletes becoming more a leader. I get spun up about people realizing how truly awesome the human body is and how much they can do with it.
And people who've let it go to shit, reintroduce them to it. Be like, hey, this is you can fix this thing.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that people want to try fires me up. Like that's it. All you have to do, and that's, I mean, across, like I talk to so many affiliates, and that's literally all you have to do if you walk into an affiliate is just try. No one cares what your background is, how much you've fallen off, what you did before this. No one cares. All they care about is if you come in and try. That's it. Bottom line.
That really is true. That really is true. Yeah. Hey, that's why also like when I hear stories of people in the affiliates getting upset that someone next to them is shorting reps, it's like, dude, like, what do you care? Like
just try. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Don't worry about that, dude. Like someone or just tell the dude. Just tell the dude, be like, hey, dude, you'll feel better and get more out of the workouts if you slow down and go and get, full depth or whatever. If not, whatever, they're still in there. They just need to try. Eaton Beaver, good morning, Mr. Ogar. Love the beard.
Oh, thanks. I grew it myself.
I have 3 kids, and they play a lot of sports, and I really wanted them to do well, and I really wanted them to do well, and I really wanted them to do well. And one of my boys got injured. He was doing jiu-jitsu, and someone kicked him in the stomach, and for like 6 weeks, he said something was wrong with his bladder, like the way he peed didn't feel right. And after that, it hit the whole reset switch on how I think about sports. Now I don't even care. It's exactly what you said. I don't even care how well they do. I just want them out on the field. If they're like fooling around or laughing, I don't care. As long as they're in the game, they show up, they just behave, they contribute. I don't care. Yeah, I don't care how good they do anymore. I just want them to be out there having fun. And it's true. It just hit the reset. An injury was a crazy reset for me.
Well, and I think one big part of what Greg used to always talk about that people forget within CrossFit, and something I forgot about for years and just recently over the last few years figured out again, is like regularly learn and play new sports. Like as adults, we should still play. I think that's one of the biggest things, especially like the men of the CrossFit culture. Like they forget that playing is okay. Like bouncing around, having a good time, like going out and playing something that's enjoyable is a huge part of fitness. And I think you leave a lot on the table as far as like your whole fitness overall if you're not playing. And I think that's true of kids. I think kids should play. They should have a good time. It should be enjoyable.
Another great reason that Rich is a good ambassador.
Yeah, he plays all the time from what I see.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, he's doing it all. Okay, so you're in college, you're doing the rugby, and then when does CrossFit pop up on your radar, and what are your first thoughts about it?
So I was not being a good student my freshman and beginning of sophomore year, and I got kicked out of school for not having the right grades, or my grades dropping below a certain level. And so I needed a job, needed to do something. I was already going to the gym regularly, and my buddy's like, "Hey, you should, just do personal training since you're already kind of coaching people at the gym anyway." And I was like, "Sweet." Went and got like a certification and started working at a gym nearby. And a guy named Jeremy Yates was running the training program at the time, and he's like, "Hey, you should try this CrossFit stuff." And I'm this not exactly skinny powerlifting, big rugby guy. And I was like, "That sounds horrible. It sounds like a lot of cardio." And then, he puts the challenge down. He's like, "I bet you my 100-pound blonde girlfriend can beat you." And I was like, "Deal, let's go." And so tried my first CrossFit workout, was horrible at it, fell in love with it, and had really never looked back.
Do you remember the workout?
I do. I think it was a fun joke from Jeremy, because it was 21, 15, 9 handstand push-ups and L pull-ups. It was the .com workout for like that day or the day before.
God,
And I was like 240 pounds and a power lifter. Like I'd never flipped upside down.
Right. And L pull-ups are just like mean.
Yeah.
It's not even fun.
They were all done in like 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm like there 30 minutes later trying to finish out with like 15-pound dumbbell push press and the Gravitron machine pull-ups and barely getting my fat chin over.
And what was the stimulus you got? Do you remember your forearms being more blown up than ever before, or being like wanting to throw up, or do you remember the stimulus, what you felt?
The stimulus is I felt like a fat turd because like I was a pretty strong guy back then, and I had to finish with 15-pound dumbbell push press instead of handstand push-ups. And so realized I was bad at it, and realized I didn't like being bad at things. And so between that and wanting to get better at rugby and run more, started doing more CrossFit. My second workout was Murph.
Holy shit. Do you remember your time on your first Murph?
If we can measure it in days, probably. I don't know. It was long. Like we didn't scale, we didn't partition. It wasn't a thing back then. This is like 2006, 2007.
Did you get rhabdo?
No. Luckily I didn't get rhabdo. I think it's because I took so long to do it that I think my body realized it was like 2 or 3 different workouts, because it was like probably 2 hours, man. It was not good.
Did you wear a vest?
No, we didn't realize we needed to wear a vest. And I think that was luckily something Jeremy didn't tell us at the time, because I didn't know what CrossFit.com was. I didn't know any of this stuff. He would just come in with these CrossFit workouts and tell us we're doing them.
Dude, Murph's crazy. Did you get like those weird tingly things on your head and shit? Were you tripping somewhere in there? Like, did you have, those sensations when you do getting some CrossFit workouts, you're like, or like your ears clog up? You know what I'm talking about? Like when you're pushing weird spots?
No, I mean, luckily I've been an athlete my whole life, so I can kind of fumble through it, but it did not feel good. I mean, I was trashed for days.
Yeah, damn. Get with the programming. I told Kevin to break a leg before coming on the show. It got awkward. You're a good dude, Chad.
How do you know I didn't? I wouldn't even know if I did.
So you have you ever broke your leg since you've been in the chair and not known it?
Not that I'm aware of. I've probably broken a few toes, but I've never broken my legs I'm aware of.
So you get introduced to it, and right away you're like, "Hey, I don't want to be bad at this." And are you just in like that? You're just in?
And like I am that guy. I am the jump all in, all or nothing, and I just went head first into it.
And that was like 06, 07, 05, that era?
Yeah, I think I really started doing it like 07. Got my first level 1 at the beginning of 08.
So that's just when the videos really started coming out. When it started, like before then, it was like, fuck, you're like looking for anything to figure out the movement. Yeah. So you were kind of
watching like watching Greg Amundsen, a guy named, I don't even remember his real name. His online name was Bionic. Like all those guys just like putting up YouTube videos, and I just watching all that stuff, and just I had like 3 tabs open on my computer, and it was always like CrossFit.com, CrossFit One World, and like 1 or 2 other CrossFit gyms that were always put programming out, and I would always just steal it.
And all the footage was grainy, and it was like shot in like 480 or 280.
Oh, it was iMovie and like the cheesiest like things floating in. Oh yeah.
Wow. And so you were a 5 p.m. guy? At 5 p.m. you'd run over to .com and refresh the page?
Yes, for years. For
Yeah, that's
years.
wild. I didn't know you were. I knew you were old school. I didn't know you were that old school.
Oh
That's
yeah, dude. I
wild.
was on the I was on the message boards, but I was always quiet because I was never that like when message boards were big, I was never good at it, so I didn't want to post my times and just get absolutely ridiculed for being a fat turd. So like I would read all the message boards, but I was never one to really comment on them.
Hey, and how long did it take before you were like from starting that first workout with Jeremy Yates to where you're like, oh, I'm kind of fit now?
Um, honestly, it didn't take really long. I think within like the first, I would say 6 months, I went from like 240 pounds and waddling around to like 205.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because
And that's
like
one of the
when
reasons you loved it, right? The adaptation was nuts. I mean, that's was
it
for me in
was
2 weeks. I saw my body change. I was like, what the
well,
fuck is going on
I
here?
was all in, all in. Like I was studying everything I could about paleo and zone and food this and like the weirdo. Like I was the weirdo who was like carrying a bag of almonds around to make sure I had enough fat for the day. Like that was me. So
Were people around you seeing your body change? Were people like, were your parents like, oh, what's going on? Or you look great? Or were you getting good feedback?
um well, yeah. I mean, it went from like, Kevin, you're a little too heavy to like, I think you're leaning out a little too much. And I'm like, I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
great. You know, you drop like 30 pounds in a 6 month period. People start to worry a little bit.
Kevin, do you have an eating disorder? Yes, it's
Yeah.
called CrossFit.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't, I mean, I was that guy. I came home and preached the good word of CrossFit and paleo to my family as much as I could. I'm sure they got absolutely sick of me.
And then somewhere it popped in on your that's you? Holy shit, look at you.
Yep. That's me.
You look like the redheaded Wolverine.
Oh, sweet.
And when did competitions pop on your radar? When were you like, oh, we can
I,
compete at this?
I know the exact moment. So there's I actually just saw him again for the first time in like probably 10 or 12 years. I had two original training partners, Frank Foss and Nate Baycott, and we trained together constantly. Nate Baycott now runs a gym, CrossFit Fringe in Missouri, and Frank's off doing military stuff. But I remember we finished a workout from .com, and it was like running and pull-ups and something else. And I remember I was only like 3 reps shy of beating Chris Spieler because they had put like he was the one on .com that day, and I was like 3 reps shy of beating Chris, and I was thrilled because like
Yeah.
I come from like a fat kid who barely do a pull up, and now I'm like coming close to Chris Spieler on a run pull up, something else to work. I think it was like run clean pull up or something like that.
Which is all in
So
his wheelhouse. All in his wheelhouse.
yeah, and so I was stoked, and I was talking to Frank and Nate at the time, and I was like, dude, I was so close, and I remember Frank going, dude, there is no chance you could ever compete on the same stage as Chris Spieler. And it just like snapped something in me. I was like, all
Oh,
right,
yeah.
let's go. I'm
And
pretty sure I sent a picture to at least Nate, if not Frank as well. I mean, 'cause I competed with Chris for a couple of years, but the first time I competed with him, I think was like 2011 or 2012, and I snapped a picture. I don't think Chris knew I snapped the picture. I think it was like one of the very first selfies ever to send to them and tell them, haha, I win. You're wrong. It took me a few years to do it, but I won.
and what was your first comp?
I did the first online comp in.
You
Like
didn't do anything in
2000.
person? You didn't do like some small throwdown at a gym or something?
I mean, we didn't have any. I was in the middle of Missouri. I was Columbia,
Okay.
Missouri. We didn't have anything out there. And so the only thing that I would come close to, because I was a poor college kid, I couldn't travel for a lot of these things, was that last chance online qualifier of like 2008, I think. Like there's a video qualifier for one
Oh, shit, I don't even remember that. Wow.
for one of those competitions. I think it was like the Dirty South one or something like that. And I threw down on that and barely missed making it that year.
And what was your first in-person comp?
2009, when we had the only time we ever had sectionals out here in Colorado.
And how was that? Tell me about that. You went out there by yourself. You went out there with a girlfriend, your parents. What did you do?
I had actually just moved to Colorado July of that year, and that was in, I want to say like October or November that year. And saw it, signed up for it. I was still playing rugby, so I had a rugby tournament the weekend before. Went into it kind of beat up and bruised, and I mean, did okay. Qualified for regionals that year.
And did you love it? Was
I
that experience
was it,
just like crazy stimulating?
dude. I got to meet Matt Chan for the first time in person, which like I've known him for a while now, but like he was it back then. It was so cool to see him and competing against all these guys who were like throwing up these crazy numbers and like incredibly fit stuff. Like Peter Edgett was there, and oh gosh, so many other big names were like at that point in time, big names. I just remember being in awe of all these guys like throwing around these numbers and these weights that were crazy to me. And I was hooked. That's it. Did regionals that year, and I was like, I'm training for the games. That's what I'm doing.
And where were the regionals?
Regionals were in Colorado that year, so we were out in Castle Rock, I think it was that year.
Yeah, you know what? I was there. I remember that.
Yeah.
And Tommy Hackenberg, were there teams there also?
I think so.
Did you say
that's a while
did you
ago.
say 09?
So this is the sectional was 09. The regional, that was to qualify for the regional in 2010.
2010, yeah.
So that was in Castle Rock. I know Tommy was there, and there's Nate Beard. I always remember Nate, super nice guy, but would throw around the most ridiculous. I thought it was strong, and that guy was stupid strong.
God, I can't believe that was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
38.
Oh, you're still young. Jeez Louise. So you were 24.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started doing CrossFit when I was 21.
So now you're coaching and you're competing in CrossFit. That's what your life had become.
That was it. Yeah, I would pick up side jobs. Like I worked security downtown Denver. I worked at Whole Foods in their meat department for a few years, just like anything I could to basically afford my hobby of coaching.
Yeah. And then how did that progress? What did you start doing competitions 4 or 5 times a year? Did you start really getting into it? What?
And anything I could afford, get to, or find sponsors that would send me out to, like like the picture you showed was from the Outlaw Open, or like even like OC Third Eye went to a few years, or any local competitions that had like prize purses. I would just go there and try to see if I couldn't make some extra money or get my name out there to try to collect some sponsorships so I could afford to keep competing.
And were you getting better? What was motivating you to keep going?
I had some really great training partners. Like one of my training partners back then made the games, and I had a couple that were really close to making the games. And so we had a really cool community of people that we would travel around, especially when we first started. We would travel around to different CrossFit gyms because different owners were trying to make the games back then. Like that's when it was still like mainly gym owners who were trying to qualify, and we would just train together. And so we had a really cool community of people we trained with that I'm still friends with a lot of them at this point. We would just train together, and it was motivating because like all of us had different strengths, and so like we'd always be chasing someone on something.
This is off subject a little bit, but you know what I'm starting to think, and I'm having trouble getting my head wrapped around it, but I think it's accurate. I think that there's people in the top 10 at the CrossFit Games in the individual elite who've never been coached.
I mean, it's possible.
Like they don't know about belly breathing. No, they're no, like they don't have coaches. Like they don't know. No one's ever told them when you snatch, keep the bar close to you. I think that there's people. It's crazy. More and more, I'm hearing or I'm seeing coaching videos. I'm seeing people who are really good or hearing stories, and it's like, holy shit, these people don't really have coaches. What triggered me to think that is you said you had really good training partners. So some people are training alone, right? And some people have like these consistent training partners. Do you think that do you think that all these games athletes or there's even games athletes who've never even taken the L1? Like I think Vellner's never even taken the L1.
I think there are a lot of almost games athletes and games athletes who don't, and I don't mean this as an insult because they're great athletes, but I don't think they truly understand the methodology.
Give me an example, not the person, but the give me like something that you think that they don't understand.
So a lot of these, like the top 10 guys for sure, they've learned how to maintain intensity across volume. But I think a lot of athletes, and I think that's okay, like as long as you can maintain intensity across the volume, that's great. I think the bigger problem is you have a lot of these like almost games athletes or like low level games athletes who see all these like the Riches and the Mats like doing a whole bunch of volume and don't realize that they built that volume up through intensity, and they're throwing volume and volume and volume at themselves, and they don't realize the reason they're not able to beat these other athletes because they don't know what true intensity is. They don't know how to flip that switch. They don't know how to actually push themselves. They know how to pace. They know how to coast, but they don't know how to, when necessary, throw the hammer down and actually like go for it. And I think that's where like you see a lot of like the athletes that are in top 10, they have that whether naturally or taught to them or they've learned it. They've learned how to push into that, we'll call it like sixth gear, and know what intensity feels like and know how to modulate it better. But that was only from training with intensity and not just training for volume.
Right. And I appreciate that. And I see that I was particularly thinking just also about just motor recruitment patterns, positioning, technique. It seems breathing. It just seems like the more and more when I see videos or I hear people interacting with these athletes and they say things to them that just seem so fundamental to me,
Well,
and then they don't know it. I'm like, holy shit, they
it's
don't know
if
that. They
you
don't know
have
about belly breathing.
if you have 4 workouts a day,
Mhm.
tell me when you're going to work on moving better or the skills that you're going to need or like it's not just training, it's also recovery. But if you're doing like part A, part B, part C, part D, I'm going to do this metcon here, I'm going to do this lifting here, I'm going to do all these different things. Tell me when you're working on skill, tell me when you're working on moving better, tell me when you're trying to figure out how to be more efficient, because you're not. And let me know when you're working on your recovery and how you're breathing, and you know, all these different kind of things that are way more important than getting your 5th workout in for the day.
Right.
And I have this argument all the time, especially with like the adaptive crowd. They want to do like the 6 workouts a day, and I'm like, it's why you're not fit. I'm sorry, it's why you're not strong. Like, I shouldn't say not fit. It's why you're not strong. There's this big thing. There's this. If you look at the top people in adaptive and the people who are like mid range, the biggest difference is strength. And the
Mm.
reason why they're not strong is because they're not giving themselves enough time, because they're missing limbs or missing function somewhere to actually recover and gain strength the way you need to. They're doing 6 workouts a day and they're like, I can't get stronger. I'm like, well, that's because you train like an idiot.
Mm. I think a lot of those people, including myself, one of the reasons also is we train for not that this is an excuse, but it's maybe an interference. We train for I don't want to use the word mental health, but like I train for like normally I like to train in the middle of the day some point, and it
Mhm.
gives me a reset. And if I don't, I'm kind of lethargic the whole day. I don't
Yeah.
feel like 100%. So I think a lot of people also just train. They forget. They get confused. It's different training as an athlete as opposed to someone like me who's using it just as a reset. But you're right. I can just get stuck in ruts doing the same workouts over and over, not increasing the intensity, not resting enough, because I'm just working out just to scratch some sort of mental thing. You know what I mean?
One of the things that's always in the back of my head, and it's something that Greg, I used to always hear him say, like it's in the manual. It's like, if you come in for a workout and you can't throw down with intensity, it means you needed to have a rest day.
Wow.
If I can't try hard on a workout, and if I'm just going in there trying to slug through it, it
Yeah.
means that I needed a rest day. I need to go do something else. I need to figure out a different reset. Go for a 10-minute walk. Go sit outside. Hell, I mean, if you really like, I mean, I love cold therapy. I mean, regardless of what kind of what you think of the science on it, but I love it. And so, like, splash cold water in your face. Find something else that's not beating your body into the dirt, so you can come in the next day and actually like try. Again, it all comes back to trying.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't come in and try, and you're coming like and you have a bad attitude, like, kick rocks. Like, go take a rest day. Go for a walk. Go find someone that makes you happy, or something that makes you happy outside of the gym, and then come back and try harder with me.
And what I saw recently, you benched 430. So
Mhm.
you've made yourself strong as shit. You know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
I mean, I'm pretty good. I mean, to be fair, Jesse Burdick made me strong. Let's like, he gave me
Okay.
the programming behind me being strong at all on bench press. But yeah, I mean, I did the work on it.
What is the most you've ever benched? You benched 500 once, right?
I've benched 500 with a slingshot. Most I've benched raw is 440.
Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Hey, and when you're benching, are your legs giving you any stability there?
No, my legs are just kind of flopping around. They don't do anything.
And so the whole time, so when you're benching, where are you in your body? Like, where do you put your attention? Are you doing balance? Are you in your chest? Are you in your triceps? Where does Kevin Ogar
Uh,
vanish into?
my brain goes into my scaps, my back, and my abs. Those are the 2 things I really have to focus on. If the more I can keep my lats set and my abs on, the better I bench, because it
What
just
about
creates more.
falling?
That's
What about falling off the bench?
it's balance. You better have a stable bench.
Damn. You do anything special? A wider bench or
We
different
use a
grip?
fat
Or
pad. I mean,
Mhm.
just a lot of it's because, like, I use a fat pad basically for my shoulders. But
What is
um,
that? That's something you're lying on?
Yeah, so that's if you see it in the thing, it's called a fat pad. Rogue sells it. Gosh, I'm such a jerk because I can't remember the guy's name who invented it, but he's a great dude. So it's a little bit wider and
Tom,
it's a lot thicker. Yeah,
Thompson
Thompson.
Fat Pad.
Yeah, Thompson fat pad. Thank you, Donnie Thompson. So
Okay.
he invented that for benchers, and it helps my shoulders stay healthier. And I love it. That's the only thing I try to bench on. And when I switch over to a narrower bench, say like in competition or something like that, I don't really feel a difference. I still feel just as strong.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay, that's good to know. So you're competing and you have goals to go to the games, and then you go to the OC Throwdown. Can you tell me what happens there?
OC Throwdown 2014. It was in January. We're through the competition. We're going into this event. Should have been my event. Like at that time, I wouldn't say I was the strongest guy in the CrossFit realm, but I was one of the stronger guys. Like if there was a heavy event, I was probably going to do pretty well on it. And this one was like a 3-rep max hang snatch, like a back squat, and like a push jerk or something like that. I don't remember what the last one was. I didn't make it there. They kept you in this like little side room. They wanted it to be this big surprise, like we're gonna walk you out and just gonna be like go. And so you're in this like hallway, and then they walk you out, and you basically have like 30 seconds to get to your platform, and then beat, go, and not a lot of time to check everything out. Well, they had stacked all the bumper plates directly behind the platforms, or directly like behind you when you're lifting on the platforms. And so I went to go hit my first snatch. It felt awkward. It wasn't anything heavy for me at the time, and so I was just like, I'm just gonna bail it backwards and start over. I have plenty of time to hit this. And at that point in time, I don't think anyone had snatched more than like 215, and I had like 235 on the bar. And so I was like, it's not a big deal. I'll just redo it. And so I went to go drop it backwards, realized I couldn't jump forwards because there was a slight incline to the platform. And barbell hits my left shoulder, bounces off of me, hits the bumper plates that were behind me, the 45s, and ricochets off that at full speed. Right into my spine, right between T11 and T12, and severs it in half.
Severs it in half.
Yep. Puts it on two different sides of my body.
And I don't know anatomy, but we have a cord down there, right? A spinal cord too, like an electrical cord that's like the main conduit for like. Did that thing get broken too?
Just cut the cable.
Just
Yep. Well, and this goes back to like why I am so adamant about like my morals or my faith about things is like a quarter of an inch in either direction, I'd probably be dead instantly. But I didn't. Like I had a small fracture in one vertebrae, but I didn't break any vertebrae. I didn't have any internal damage.
No, you didn't break any vertebrae.
Just had a small fracture of I just had a small fracture of one of like the overlapping joints, but that was it. Vertebrae were fine. To this day, they're fine. And just severed it in half perfectly the way it should have, the way it needed to keep me alive. And there it is.
And so, do you remember the whole event? Did you stay conscious?
Oh yeah, I was conscious the whole time. My training partner's wife, who's thank God was a fire medic, jumped the guardrails and came running over, holding her. Like I think her daughter was like 3 months old at that time, holding her baby, and like took charge. They were trying to like move me off the platform and get me to move. They would have killed me, and so she came over and like calmed me down. I was freaking out. I was in more pain than I've ever been in my entire life. It was like someone had doused me in gasoline from head to toe, and every nerve, it just set it on fire.
Wow.
So remember all of that. Remember waiting for the ambulance. Remember the ambulance ride. I didn't lose consciousness until they had to put me under for an MRI.
Kevin, why couldn't they just bring the cords together?
Well, I
It
mean,
doesn't work like that. You
can, but I mean, if you take like any cable, like you take like a power cable and you cut it, and just put the cables next to each other, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to conduct any electricity, and that's kind of where I'm at. So my spine's back in line. Like I'm fused. So my spinal column is one line, but even with those cords touching, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to transmit any electrical signaling.
And they don't grow back.
Nerves do, but it's so slow that, I mean, if I lived to be 800, maybe something would happen. But
do you get it looked? Do you still go for visits and they look at it and check it out, or no? It's over. It's so behind you. Do you ever have that thing looked at? Like, I don't even know how you.
I have, just to make sure that I'm not doing any damage to it. You know, I'm not super easy on myself or easy on like how hard I try on things. And so I have, like, my bone density even though I don't have leg function is still higher than most people's. I don't have any bulging discs or anything around my fusion. Like my spine's perfectly healthy outside of the severing of that one portion of it, which is kind of unheard of for someone who's been in a chair for 10 years. I think a lot of that is CrossFit. So I'll go get it checked out every once in a while just to make sure I'm not doing anything stupid. But so far, nothing.
I was on one of my wild rants the other day, and I used you as an example. It's hard for me to appreciate other people's hardship when I think about what you had to go through, what you had to overcome. That you went from a guy who played all the sports, just a fiery, passionate character, and then all of a sudden, hey, nope, sorry, you don't get your legs anymore.
Well, I mean, it sounds bad, but I'd rather have purpose than leg function. And I've been really blessed with the last 10 years having a very large purpose, a very large calling to help other people. And that's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. So like, yeah, it'd be cool to have leg functioning, I guess, but not if I had to sacrifice the purpose that I'm working on right now.
And I think that you have, the reason why I bring the whole story up again is I think you've transcended, your injury. I think for maybe a couple of years, that's the guy that, lost his legs in the CrossFit accident, but you're not that guy anymore. Now you're a staple in the community that's like probably like, number 10. Probably a lot of people have never even heard that story until just now.
I mean, the more people who don't know, like I like the story because it teaches people safety when you're talking about setup and lifting and competitions. It's great. But the more people that, like I've always said it, the more I can kind of like fade in the background and help people from the back with it, I'm fine with that.
I remember Greg saying he does not talk about his polio. Maybe I've heard, and I'm around him a lot, like a fucking lot. Like I talk to him every day, and I've heard him talk about it less than a dozen times, less than once a year. But the most kind of poignant thing he ever said to me is he doesn't talk about it because he didn't want anyone ever to say they did say he got tired of hearing, oh, that's pretty good for a guy with one leg. And it's just like he just didn't want to hear that anymore. So he just stopped talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the cool things about the adaptive side of CrossFit now. It's like it's no longer, oh, that's cool for a guy with one arm. Like we have people doing like one arm rope climbs and one arm handstand walks. That's not just good for someone with one arm. That's insane for anyone.
Right. The thing that if someone says adaptive and I close my eyes, the first thing that always pops into my head is the Logan guy who's now over
Logan Aldridge.
Yeah. I love him, and I just think of all those one arm cleans and jerks and all that crazy shit he does. My brain still can't get my head wrapped around it. I just had one of those videos pop up the other day on my Instagram. I'm like, how?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of athletes who do that stuff. There's a guy named Vic. He's who's out in North Carolina. I think he's down in Florida now. Who does the same thing. Casey Ackery does it.
Casey Ackery.
Watching Casey Ackery catch like 235 on one arm and a nub is incredible to me.
Here's another thing that's probably not going to be a popular thing I'm going to say. When you see someone with a limb missing, you start just thinking about function or all these things. The last thing you think is, oh, that's a beautiful body. But not only that, these guys have beautiful bodies. Like Logan and Casey's bodies are like these are like Greek gods. You're like, holy shit, these guys are beautiful human beings.
The one thing I think able-bodied athletes could really learn from adaptive athletes is working on their efficiency. If you watch Casey, Logan, Vic, any of these one-arm seated athletes, any of these guys, their efficiency is out of this world because they can't hide it with hip function or two hands. And so like the efficiency of their movement has to be impeccable. And they work that skill a ton. And I think if a lot more able-bodied athletes did that, we'd see a huge spike in a lot of these numbers for a lot of these workouts.
That goes back to what we were talking about earlier too, about resting and doing the not fun stuff. Those guys have clearly concentrated on their motor recruitment patterns and all the minutia, right? To work through those.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to. If you're going to clean and jerk 225 with one hand, you have to be almost perfect.
Yeah, is that a world record for one hand?
That's the heaviest I've ever seen one-handed clean and jerk from Logan.
Yeah, this dude's such a stud.
So Casey's closer to 300, but he's what we call a two-point of contact because he actually uses that residual limb to help stabilize, which no less impressive. He's still clean and jerking like 300.
Residual limp.
Yeah, that's what it is. So like he's still clean and jerking close to 300 pounds or around 300 pounds. So
I'm looking up the definition of residual. I just love what remains after most of something is gone. Oh God,
here's what it is.
Yeah, of course.
Beaver, my wife just texted me and told me that she sent you my X-ray.
Are you cool with me pulling it up?
Yeah, dude. As long as it's not going to make people sick.
No, I think it'll be fine. Pull it up.
So the accident happens, and what happens then? What happens to your wow?
Yeah, so that's my T11, T12 junction, and the only fracture, you see that little chip, right there. That's the only fracture I had.
It looks like you have two spines. What's that? All those white things in the back that parallel to your spine. What is that?
Bony prominences.
Okay.
That's the part that sticks out your back. This is like your main spine.
Oh,
like
and that other stuff is that your rib cage on that side? Which way? Where's his belly button?
So I think this is upside down. So my hips are higher than the rest of everything else.
Oh, okay. So that lump in the back's your ass?
No, that's where my bones are pushing out.
Holy shit. Okay, so how long before you recover?
Oh man. Well, I was sneaking out of the hospital like 2 weeks later to go back to my CrossFit gym because I was sick of doing like lat pull downs and bicep curls. So I don't know, like truly recover. I don't know, man. Like in the hospital, being in the hospital, like you have everyone around you, it's fine. The first 3 months out of the hospital was probably the worst, the hardest part. It was miserable. Like I mean, I know the suicide rate within the first 3 months outside of hospitals is probably highest for paraplegics, and there's a reason. It's just really hard. There's a lot of reminders. There's a lot of struggling. Like what once took you 2 minutes is now taking you an hour and a half to do, and it's really frustrating. And I don't know. I think
you're
I was
relearning
fortunate.
everything: cars, brushing your teeth, making a bowl of soup, taking a shit. Everything's brand new.
You have to learn how to sit up. I had to learn how to sit up, put on my shoes, wipe my own butt. Like you have to learn everything again. And so they try to teach in the hospital as best they can, but at a certain point, once the training wheels comes off, it's still really rough and it's a really hard go. And I was super fortunate to have a group of other paraplegics, other wheelies that reached out to me and helped me out. Chris Stoutenberg, who was one of the co-owners of WheelWOD with me, was one of them. Angel Gonzalez, Gustavo Marquez, like those guys were a rock for me when I really needed it and helped me through a lot of the darker points of that. But even just the CrossFit community, like seeing how much the CrossFit community rallied around me, like I was fired up. I had a purpose. I knew what I needed to work on. And so I think I just kind of put my head down and worked. I don't know if it was the healthiest thing. It probably caught up with me like a year later when I actually had to like take stock on what I lost and process it. But it helped me through that hard time initially. And so I don't know, like a couple of years before I felt, I wouldn't say normal, but felt like I had a grasp on what was going on.
So what I heard you say is basically it happened, and instead of like focusing, so let me go back a second. There was a guy, I can't remember if he was on the show or it was a story I heard, but basically he said after I can't even remember what happened to him. He had an accident, and his whole entire vision for the future of his life, when he looked at it, it was no longer there because whatever happened to him was he couldn't do anymore, right? Did that, and I was like, hey, did you even know you had a vision before? Is that what happened to you too? Like you get home and you're like, oh shit, the whole future's gone. Like you didn't even no.
I mean, it goes back to what I believe in. I believe in hard work. I believe in God puts us on this earth for a reason. I've always known my reason was to help. And so I woke up from my first surgery that I had a 15% chance of surviving from, knowing that if I was still alive and I wasn't dead, that God had kept me on this earth for a very specific purpose. And I wasn't 100% sure what it was yet. I knew it was to help people, but I was going to work my ass off and figure it out. But I don't really think I like obviously had nights where I was like, this is horrible. I hate this. Like, I don't know why I was kept alive. But on the whole, overall, like the second I woke up from that surgery that was supposed to kill me, like I had a doctor come in and say, call people you love. You are not surviving the surgery. Say goodbye.
No shit.
Yeah.
Did you do that?
Oh yeah. A few hours calling people that I cared about. Like my cousin David that I grew up with, my best friend. I remember that phone call. I don't remember a lot of them because I was on a lot of drugs. But I remember that phone call, having to tell him that like I wasn't going to make it. He wasn't
What
going to
did
see
they
me
think was
again.
going to happen to you? What did they think? You were going to bleed out or something?
So I had what's called a spinal thoracotomy. So they had, because of the severity of my break, they had to go through my side. So they basically had to slice my side open, deflate my lung, pull out my organs, go in from the top and like inch by inch, maybe even centimeter by centimeter, like realign my spine and hope that one of those movements didn't kill me. And it was like, I think like a 9 or 10 hour surgery of just gushing blood. And so like I lost most of my blood. I lost a lot of blood. I had a lot of transfusions. So shout out to anyone that's given blood because it's kept me alive. But when I say CrossFit saved my life, most people die from that surgery because they don't have enough oxygen left in the blood that they have, that it kills them. The brain goes dead, you're dead. And because I've been training CrossFit and training CrossFit in Colorado for so long, my red blood cell count was high enough to keep me alive.
Dude, I didn't know that story. I'd never heard that story. So that'll fucking reset your shit, huh? Calling people and telling them goodbye.
Oh yeah, I had to call like everyone that was in my family that hadn't made it out yet. Had to give them a call. All my friends, like just one by one, just started calling people and telling them like, "Hey, I'm not making the surgery, so love you, but goodbye." So like waking up from the first surgery, not dead, felt pretty lucky. Like I've never felt, and I can only express it as like the hand of God helping me. I've never felt more calm and at peace in my entire life.
Wow. So not scared.
Not scared, not freaking out, just calm.
Complete surrender to what?
Yeah. Whatever he needs me to do, that's what I'm going to do.
When you call those people, are there a lot of tears?
Oh yeah, dude. I've never cried. Well, maybe. Probably one of the most times I've ever cried in my entire life.
Was that?
Yeah, like you're just on the phone. Like there's probably phone calls they probably couldn't understand me. I was sobbing so much. Like how are you supposed to tell someone goodbye?
Holy
I'm
shit!
dying,
I just keep thinking of what your parents must have gone through. Holy shit!
Oh, my parents, like, I'm so thankful they got to get out there and see me before that surgery. So like we had a whole bunch of people around us back then with the barbells for boobs people who flew them out, make sure they got out there to see me before I had to go on that first surgery, just in case I did pass away.
So you and you make it out of that, and is that the last surgery you had?
No, I had to say, so that one was just to get my spine back in line, and so then they had to slice me down the back and then put my hardware in. So I have 4 plates, 2 rods, and 8 screws from T10 down to L1.
Any complications during any of this?
No, the surgeon in Colorado when I went to Craig, who saw my X-rays after with my hardware in, said he has never seen a more perfect surgery in their entire life. Like,
wow.
I could fall off a 10-story building. The only thing that would survive is that section of my spine because it's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen.
Oh God, I love hearing that. Stephen Flores, what was your PT's thoughts on you still doing CrossFit?
I was lucky. The guy who was actually my PT at Craig Hospital did CrossFit in his garage, so I was lucky. Most everyone at Craig didn't like it. They thought it was silly. That's why I was sneaking out to go do it. They thought I was going to hurt myself. I had one doctor tell me that I shouldn't do CrossFit because pressing something overhead is dangerous for my shoulders, but I should go try downhill skiing. Which when I brought up the cognitive dissonance and the stupidity of that sentence, he did not like me much anymore. But then honestly, now they love it. After a couple of years of me showing them what CrossFit could do, they were one of the outings for Craig now. So Craig PTs refer inpatients and outpatients to come to my gym to learn how to do CrossFit.
Oh, dude, that is what a success story.
And like their gym facility went from lat pull downs, rickshaw dips, 10-pound dumbbells for bicep curls to rings, rowers, ski ergs, barbells. Like they have a mini gym inside their facility at this point.
I do love a lat pull down.
I mean, they're fun, but that wasn't at that point in time. That wasn't what's going to make me better at moving my own body around.
Right.
I'm like my lats were already strong enough. I needed to learn the mechanics of moving.
Yeah. When I went to a hotel gym recently in Bend, Oregon, and my kids had never done a lat pull down, and we just hung out at the lat pull down machine. God, I used to love the lat pull down.
Like, don't get me wrong, I still love some meathead stuff. Like, every once in a while, some reverse flies, some lat pull downs, like bicep curls. Like, I still like them.
I had them do skull crushers there, all this shit.
Oh yeah,
So much fun
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
The seated shoulder press. God,
Mm-hmm.
the meathead gym is so fun. So great story. And so you've parlayed all of these things, and it's every day your life makes more and more sense, especially as
Mm-hmm.
people like who come from this hospital come to your gym. You're like, got it. This is like sort of the Matt Schindledecker thing. He had this crazy life happen to him, and 25 years later, I don't know if you know his story. Do you know his story?
No, not the top of my head.
He's a gym owner in Ohio, and wild stories as a youth, and now he's really
Oh,
focused
yeah.
on
I know
helping
you're
youth,
talking about.
right?
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know
Murder,
he's gonna be
killings, and shit, and like now he's like 25 years later, he's like, oh shit, that's
Yeah,
this whole process was for this. So you're
he's
really
he's gonna be really
seeing.
mad at me that I didn't remember him off the top of my head. I
That's
apologize, Matt.
okay.
Like
No, I put you on
me
the
and him have
spot.
talked a bunch of times. Yeah, sorry, Matt.
No. I put you on the spot. I if you would have brought up his name, I'd have forgot to. So all that's going. And when do you start thinking that about comps again? What tell me about WheelWOD and your relationship with what do you guys call him? You guys call him Stout?
Stouty.
Stouty.
His name's Chris Stoutenberg, but we just call him Stouty because he's Canadian, and you can't have a Canadian without a nickname.
Okay. I like Stoutenberg. Is he Jewish?
I've never asked.
Oh, Stoutenberg. Is he? Is Stoutenberg? What? He's Jewish, I think.
I don't think he's Jewish, but
Oh,
his
all
name's
right.
Stoutenberg.
All right. Fine. He can
So
be. I'll anoint him. He's now Jewish. How did your paths cross with him, and how did you when did you start thinking, oh, I could actually still compete?
So he reached out to me like within the first week of me being in the hospital, and he was kind of like the attitude that I needed, because it was basically like, you're fine. This isn't that bad of a life. You can do what you need to. Stop being a pansy. You're not broken. You're not lesser. Just work. And so we became really close while I was in the hospital. He was a mentor of mine, like rolling me through a lot of
And
the
what's
stuff.
his deal? He
Points of
doesn't have he doesn't have access to his legs. He doesn't.
So he was paralyzed. I guess it's 25 years. So here's a cool story for you for the benefits of CrossFit. He was paralyzed 25 years ago. He was playing football down in Illinois, even though he's from Canada, and the railing broke, and he fell 15 feet onto the only patch of grass that was there on two sides of concrete, and paralyzed himself. He's a T4, T5 paraplegic, so basically like nipple line down. He's went on to win multiple gold medals for the Paralympics in basketball. When he retired from that, he started CrossFitting. He just recently broke his leg from he spasmed when he caught his leg underneath his bed frame and snapped his femur. And normally at that point, he's been in a chair for so long, you're so osteoporotic, or your bones are so brittle, they basically have to amputate because you can't bind the bones. But after 10, 12 years of CrossFit plus, he still has the bone density of a walking person. And the only reason we can think of is CrossFit. We load the legs, we move around, we force our bodies to move. And so his bone density saved his life.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good story.
So we met, we started chatting about things. So like I got hurt in January. I got out of the hospital at the beginning of March, right? I think I got out of the hospital either right after or right before the first week of the Open. And I had never missed an Open to that point. I refused to miss an Open. And so I got out and I was like, Saudi, what are we going to do for this? And he'd already been adapting the Open for a couple of years. He started in like 2011 or 2012. And so he just started adapting the Open workouts as they came out. And we did them for fun against each other and just talk trash. And then the next year we got it on Comp Corner and started bringing more people in. The next year, people that were, this is 2016 at this point. We had enough people involved that we had I think the very first in-person competition for the WheelWOD games, where we brought everyone at that back then. It was just like
What
seated.
year is that?
I think 2016.
Okay.
That year we just had, if you're seated, you're a seated athlete. If you're standing with the lower extremity, you're lower standing, and upper standing. Those were the only three categories we had. 2017 grew more, 2018 grew even more. And that's this time, like I was kind of competing. I was throwing down on the online stuff, but I was more focused on trying to help Saudi on the back end or help develop more of this adaptive stuff. And so I would compete for funsies, but I didn't really compete in person outside of Wadapalooza. So I did that for a couple of years before I started helping run it. The only time I really competed in person was 2018 at the WheelWOD Games. Was the only year I did it.
And how big is WheelWOD this year? How big was it? How many competitors?
We had 110 adaptive athletes at the WheelWOD games this last year.
And how many divisions is that?
We had 14 last year. We have 15 this year.
Yeah. What's the end to that? Is it impossible to have a division for everyone?
Yes.
It is impossible.
It's impossible. I mean, if you want to start breaking it down to what's completely fair, you'd have to break it down for seated athletes, vertebrae by vertebrae. You'd have to start breaking it down for even amputees by how long their residual limb is.
Right.
Like it's impossible to make it completely fair, but so is CrossFit.
Right.
You mean, I mean, I'm 6'3", where I was 6'3" when I was standing up and competing. You mean it's fair for me to try to squat as fast as, Chris Spieler?
Right.
It's not going to happen. It's not fair, but it's a sport,
What is the temperament around that so here you are putting on this event. And I bring it up because it's what I always hear about the most, like right at the beginning of the event and then after event, you always hear a little bit of noise from that, right?
Mhm.
I like it that people explain it to me. But as you put on this event and there's all these different classes and you're doing your best and then people complain, what's your temperament about that? Or do people not complain? I feel like I hear people complain.
People complain, and to be fair, we'll take their complaints and we'll look into them. If it's a valid complaint, it's something we should fix and hopefully have them help us develop it. It's not falling on deaf ears. My big thing, and I've been saying this for years, and I just recently found out, I guess it's a Teddy Roosevelt quote, is like, bringing up problems without a solution is called whining.
Oh, I just saw that a couple of days ago on Instagram. That's pretty good. Yeah.
I've been saying that for years, and I don't mind you bringing problems to me. I like constructive criticism. Obviously, I'm on the level 1, level 2 staff. We get that all the time. I love that stuff. Tell me how to be better and let me look into how to make that work. But if you come to me and you just always whine and you never present a solution to things, I'm just going to kind of start ignoring you. Because if you're not presenting solutions, you're always presenting problems.
The goal is, I assume, is you're trying to make it fair, but you still need competitive classes. Like I guess on one hand you can be like, hey asshole, do you want to show up? And you're the only person in your it's like when my mom goes and runs a marathon and she's like, I won the gold. And I go, how many people in your division? She goes, just me.
Yeah. Well, and
what I mean, it's like, do you want someone to compete against or not? Right. I mean, that's how the minutia that you could get into with vertebrae and how much of your arm you have and how much hip and all that shit. Right.
Yeah. And you can. And so what we look for is how much of it, and this is kind of the tough part, how much of it is because of your fitness and how much of it is because of your impairment. And at certain times, there's some things
that like, hey dude, you're just a pussy.
I mean, I probably wouldn't phrase it that way, but yeah, sometimes it's just like, you're just not fit. It is not because you're it's not because your impairment that you can't do this movement. You are just unfit at that movement. And that's not a dig on your character. That should fire you up to go work on it.
Right.
It shouldn't be like, hey, I'm unfit at this. I'm going to shut down and cry myself to sleep. It's like, no, I suck at this. Well, damn, next time I'm not going to suck at this.
Okay, let me give you a real world example since we saw Casey Akery. So you got Casey Akery, who has that residual limb that he could. Would he compete against Logan? Would they both be one arm guy? No,
they're two different. So we have upper 1 point, upper 2 point. Depends on how much control of that residual limb that you have.
Contact? Is that what you're?
Yeah. So 1 point of contact and 2 point of contact. So Casey uses straps and everything for 2 points of contact, and Logan always does most things with 1 point of contact. And so there's certain things like that where Logan doesn't have the option because of impairment to attach the same way Casey does. That transition times to strap into certain things to try to make it fair don't make sense. It's the same reason why we have seated with hip and seated without hip. So I'm seated without hip. I have no hip function. For me to compete with someone who has the stability, strength, coordination, all that other kind of stuff of hip function, I'm never going to I could probably beat some of those guys, but it's never going to be the amount of work I have to do past fitness to beat you creates a wildly unfair. And so we are looking for big differences that create almost insurmountable differences.
A unicycle versus a bicycle race. It's just not. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And so we split there. But if you come to tell me and say hey, he has an extra inch of residual limb, or he's 2 vertebrae above me, it's okay, be fitter, work harder.
Are you in uncharted? Is CrossFit in uncharted territory? Are you guys inventing the wheel? This is not. I mean, I know there's been other adaptive events, but not with a myriad of
So,
movements, right? I mean, no one's ever done I saw one of your videos I was watching on Instagram. You're doing a sled pull crawling. I'm like, shit, I've
yeah.
never seen that. Like, so, like in some things, you just have to you're reinventing the wheel, right? Or not reinventing
I
the wheel.
mean,
Sorry, of forging new ground. Opposite of reinventing the wheel.
I can't for sure say that we are doing things for the first time. First time for me, maybe.
Right.
That was the first time me crawling and stuff like that. I know some people have probably done it before me.
Like you can't if you did that as a race at WheelWOD, you can't go look at the Olympics and see what they did. They never done that.
Yeah, no.
There's no
And
one's
well,
ever done that, right?
the big difference here is that like we can take some stuff from Paralympic sports. We can't take a lot because when you're talking about Paralympic sports or Olympic sports, they have a very specific avenue of work. Like if you're a sprinter, you're just sprinting, so they can correct for the mechanics of the sprint and make it as fair as possible. If you're talking about bench press, which is the para powerlifting, like you can correct for a lot of that stuff because you're only doing one movement. The trouble with classifying and programming for CrossFit is that everything's on the table. And so we can't just say, hey, we're going to take away this stuff from you because we're only doing this movement. It could be any movement. So we have to broaden our scope of thought as far as what movement looks like, what's fair and not fair, and how this can be corrected for within programming.
Hey, could Casey enter if he said, "Hey, I'm not going to use my residual limb"? Could he enter the division that Logan's in?
Yeah, he could, I guess. If he
Could
really
an able-bodied person enter?
No.
You can't have two limbs and be like, "Hey, I'm going to go against Logan, but I'm just going to use one too."
No. So what our definition is, what we look at is that you have to have a permanent impairment that has measurable effects on power output.
Okay.
And
God,
even
this
that
sounds
we
like CrossFit. This sounds like CrossFit.
Yeah. So we're looking at your body's capacity to produce power and how your impairment affects that, but it has to be a permanent impairment that affects it. We do have a category now it's brand new. It's called standing diagnosed. It's for people who have a permanent impairment or diagnosis that their impairments are present and affect power output, but are unmeasurable, or I should say uncorrectable. So like someone with MS may have like heat intolerance. Well, we can't say, well, you have this much more heat intolerance than someone else, so we're going to decrease your weight by 5 pounds or reps by 6 reps. If you have like severe fatigue that comes alongside like dialysis or anything like that, or like lung capacity. We have a guy who has like 50% of his lung capacity. Well, we can't say
about Rory McKernan? He only has one testicle.
Really, as manly as that dude is,
that is true.
Dude, I think God took his testicles, so he wasn't even more manly than he is. That's insane.
Can you imagine? He is manly as fuck.
That's great. He actually, like, I think I have a pretty good beard. He outbeards me for sure.
And dude, his head is like a block. He is a man child.
He is beautiful.
He is a beast. Okay, that's wild. That division's going to get why you open yourself up to a can of worms with that one.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm guessing. Tell me if this is true. You open that up as kind of a catch-all to appease people, but in the end, it's just going to be a crazy headache for you. Someone's going to be like, I mean, there was a girl I think I saw competing at WheelWOD one year, and she had exercise-induced Tourette's, and her Tourette's was crazy when she started exercising. I want to say she was rowing and would take one hand off the rower and do some shit. Would that fall under that category?
That would fall, and that's kind of like her and a couple other people. We didn't open it up to kind of catch all, but we opened it up because we saw this.
Like, where do you stop? Where do you stop, Kevin? Like, where do you stop?
We stop at, it has to be a diagnosed disorder. It has to have unmeasurable secondary and tertiary symptoms. So like a good example, we had this guy ask a question, and unfortunately we just don't have a spot for it yet. Someone asked about a heart transplant.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's
valid as shit, because you can be like, yep, you got a new heart.
Well, it doesn't qualify. Let me tell you why. So we consulted my father-in-law happens to be a very successful cardiothoracic surgeon. So I called him and I wanted to talk through the symptoms. And his exact words were, not that there's nothing that's wrong with heart transplant or like something you don't have to deal with afterwards, but if the heart transplant went well, like you shouldn't have that many symptoms that are that limiting outside of like just checking yourself, which is something we can't really measure for. If the heart transplant didn't go well, you probably shouldn't be competing. You should be taking care of yourself.
Right.
And so what we're looking for is like secondary and tertiary impairments that we can't really measure, but have a direct effect on someone's ability to produce power, like heat exhaustion, fatigue, lack of lung function. We can't measure these things to the point of correlating them to how we change programming, but they are present. We can see their effect on power output.
It must be kind of crazy when I don't know if this has happened. I'm guessing it's happened when someone tries to enter a class, but they think they qualify for and they don't, and you have to tell them. That must be like a hard conversation.
It is, and like I mean, we try to have a place for almost everyone. But in all fairness, like some people just don't qualify, and it's a very hard conversation. And we have a lot of people who are, I mean, I wouldn't say a lot. I mean, out of the number of athletes we have, it was a small handful of athletes who are probably very upset with me and probably don't like me too much because of the conversations I've had to have with them. Because like no one wants to hear, and it's not that we're saying like, hey, you're not crippled enough, you're not adaptive enough. It's just like, hey,
right. That's how. But they probably hear it like that.
Yeah. Here are our guidelines. Please tell me where. Like, and I've had this conversation with a few. Like, here are our guidelines that we're putting people in classes for. You think you're in this class. We think you're in this class because here are our guidelines. We're not saying that you don't have to struggle with things. We're not saying that things aren't hard for you. We're not saying that you're not an adaptive athlete. What we're saying is that like we have to split things somewhere, and unfortunately, that's going to affect people. And just because you think that your symptoms are here doesn't mean that they're measurably there.
Right.
And that's a hard thing for people to hear. But what I want people to think about that, like if someone came to me as an adaptive athlete myself and said, hey, you have worked your ass off and you've developed this function to the point where it's no longer fair for you to compete in this category. We're going to have you compete in this category. You know how stoked I would be?
Oh, interesting.
Even if it meant that I was at the
what would that look
I was
like?
at the bottom of the barrel. Like for me, it's not going to happen because I'm not going to regain hip function.
Right.
By hard work. But like for some of our neuro athletes or mostly just our neuro athletes.
You've seen that happen? Someone enter a division that was a less apologize if this is the wrong word, less capable division, and then they graduate like, oh dude, hey, 2 years ago we didn't see your hip moving. Now we see your hip moving. You got to move up.
Yeah, I mean,
or lateral. I don't know if that's the right word.
I love this guy to death. Brett Horshar. He's a multi-times games winner. He is a phenomenal human. He is awesome. 3 years ago, had a relapse of his MS. I would categorize him as minor neuro. He had some visible stuff that we can measure and put him in minor neuro. He has since been good. His MS has been it's not technically in remission, but it kind of is in remission, and he's been training his ass off. I would put him in. He is currently in standing diagnosed. He's one of our toughest standing diagnosed athletes.
How did he take it? Did he take it good?
He took it great. Like he understands. Like he's a smart dude. Like we show him the guidelines and he reads them and he's like, dude, you're creating spaces for me. Yeah, this dude is not only a great like. You ever like almost hate someone because they're so nice and look good with their shirt off?
Yeah, you're like,
well, that's not him. Yeah,
but that dude's one of that dude falls in that category.
Yeah, like Brett's one of those dudes. Like he's fit, looks great, and like one of the nicest dudes I've ever met. And like, I don't know. So he took it well. Some people didn't take it well. There's some people again who probably dislike me. And in all honesty, if I'm doing my job well and trying to eliminate every bias that I have, there should be some people that hate me. And if everyone loves me, then I'm probably not doing my job that well.
Yeah, don't hate Kevin, dude. You guys are out of your mind. I don't believe it. Look at Madeline Eggert in the green dress. I love nice shirtless people. Yeah, that's cool. That is nice. Kevin, you have a pretty famous sense of humor. I want to show you. I want to show you this. Sorry, Caleb. I didn't tell you this. I want to show you this video right here.
I love this video.
Yeah,
Orlo's awesome.
I'm gonna play the video and then we'll talk about how this comes about and like so it's the meme for time guy is coaching another athlete, and then is that your wife coaching you?
Yep.
And then it's a race. And your Instagram account is littered with funny bits and stunts and one-liners and all sorts of stuff like this. So many questions about this. has anyone ever pushed you out of it? Is that pushed you out of a chair before? Who comes up with that idea? Is anyone be like, that's so insensitive, or now that's going to start people pushing people out of wheelchairs, or is there any, or are you just like, fuck you, it's my life, I'm going to be funny? I mean, it's a great bit.
If you can't take a joke, if you don't have a sense of humor and that offends you, it's probably not someone I really want to talk to, because you take life too seriously.
It's based on the fact that you shouldn't push someone out of a wheelchair, and that's the funny bit. That's the bit, right?
Why?
You're right. Right. You
get out of the way.
I guess what you're saying is you shouldn't push someone out of a wheelchair as much as you shouldn't push anyone down.
Yeah. Well, like, why are we like? It's just like, why does the wheelchair have to qualify anything? So this all came about because I think it's hilarious. I think
it's hilarious people, too. Yeah.
I think
and
people
it's fun to watch. It's visually like, oh shit, he's really going to push Kevin out. I can't wait to see what happens. Yeah.
Like I've wanted to do a video where someone pushes me out in public forever, and I met Rollo and I was like, hey, what do you think about tossing me out of my chair? You're pretty adventurous with this adaptive stuff.
Oh, that was your idea?
I wanted to do it forever. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so he's like, let me think about it. Let me think this through. And so I saw him at the WheelWOD games and he was doing all these things. He's like, I finally got it. I know what I want to do. And so he pitched this idea to me where like, that's Brett Palzer. He's one of the adaptive athletes that in Seated with Hip. He's a great guy. And he's like, what if you start to beat Brett at something and I tackle you out of your chair? He's like, are you okay with me tackling you? I'm like, dude, I've missed being tackled so much from my rugby days. Hit me as hard as you want. Let's go for it. And he's like, you sure? I'm like, we'll put some padding down. What's the worst that happens? Like, I'm already paralyzed. You're not going to like do anything worse to me. So like, let's send it.
And is that in one take?
No, that was like 3 takes.
Because he wasn't comfortable hitting you hard enough to knock you over?
No, he hit me pretty hard a few times. But we just missed it. It wasn't right timing a few times. So it was like, I think it was like 3 or 4 takes, and it was in front of the audience at the WheelWOD game. So there was actually people in the stands watching.
It's pretty good. The timing is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How he runs up. So how many times did you get pushed out of the chair?
Probably like 3 or 4.
Damn. Yeah, it's a great bit. You get it? You ever get any? I guess obviously you don't care, but do you ever get any negative feedback about your joking around?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I offend people all the time. They get offended by me for me, I guess is a way of saying it.
So like I know that group. Yes.
Yeah. So like I always make the joke, like when they ask like, hey, do you need help? Like when I get groceries, like, hey, do you need help out to the car? I'm like, nah, I'm a pretty good self-propelled shopping cart. And like I had a lady one time like grab my shoulder and spin me around and be like, don't talk about yourself that way. You're so much more than a shopping cart. And I was like, chill, lady, it's a joke. I understand that I'm more than a shopping cart. I'm sentient. All right. It's a completely different thing. So
you know what's interesting? So you see someone who's pregnant. You see someone who's missing an arm. You see someone who's a dwarf. You see just whatever. You see 2 guys holding hands or kissing. You just see there's things in life that you see that you're not used to seeing. And so what people do is they pull away from it, right? I was going to say a septum ring, but now we see that all the time. But people pull away, and that it's a bummer, right? Like someone sees a pregnant woman and it's like maybe and like her belly's out and everyone you stare, but you're like it's like almost like taboo to stare. Or you see someone who's only 4 feet tall and it's taboo to stare. But the thing is like I just love what you're doing because we shouldn't do that. Those people. No one wants to be isolated because they're no one wants to be isolated because they look different.
No,
right?
and people
or because they
people
behave
project
different.
about that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not actually bad. People don't actually hate it. They're so uncomfortable with their own stuff that like.
Well, they're uncomfortable with the unknown. I mean, I brought the guy, 2 guys kissing. Like the reason why that fucking bugs people, I would say 99% of people, is because they've never seen it before. It's completely foreign to them. It was like they saw a UFO. And so you see like, I hate to keep going back to the dwarf thing, but you just don't see it. So when you see it and you're a 7-year-old kid, you're going to fucking stare. Anytime I go somewhere and there's an adult with Down syndrome, my kids will stare. They don't know they just know something's different. And so the more we make it taboo or there's not joking, then those people won't be that awkwardness will be there. And I just love that you're breaking that wall.
What's wrong with like, here's my thing. I've had this conversation with a lot of adaptive athletes. This may be an opinion that pisses off some adaptive athletes. Why do you care if someone's staring at you?
Right.
Why? Why do you care? I mean, they're just trying to figure things out. Why does it offend you so much? Like I'm a 6'3", 220-pound ginger with a big beard in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like people are going to stare at me no matter what I do. I'm a human.
They've never seen
rolling
anything
scene.
like you. Yeah. You're a rolling scene. You're a Great Dane walking down the street. Yeah.
Who cares? Let them stare. Let them figure it out. Like it'll make them more comfortable, especially kids.
Do kids come up and talk to you? Little kids?
All the time. Oh
Yeah.
my God, it's my absolute favorite. It's my absolute favorite because they're so honest and they ask such great questions. And dude, if you get mad at a kid for staring at you because you have a disability, you need to really reflect on why you hate yourself. Because that's the only reason I can come up with. If you're upset at a kid for staring at you, it's because you're not comfortable with you. It's not that you don't like them staring. It's that you hate who you are, and you really need to take a look at that.
Right.
I don't hate who I am. I have a great life. I have a hot wife. I have a cool gym. I have a great job. Like I get to do some really great stuff. I get to help some people. What do I care if you're staring at me? Go ahead. Like take a gander. Like I'm a weird looking person. I look like the Kool-Aid guy in a wheelchair. Little tiny legs, big red upper body. Like stare away, man.
Do you have a Kool-Aid shirt?
I don't. I need to get a Kool-Aid shirt.
Steal that. Everyone at WheelWOD thanked me for tackling Kevin. They said they wish they could have.
Yeah, that's true. I had a lot of people who asked if we're going to start selling tickets to tackle me next year.
Damn. WheelWOD is the same week as Wadapalooza.
Yes, as far as I know.
Okay, as far as I know too. Is that just a major bummer, or is that like fuck yeah, cool? We have the community's so big, we have two events at the same time.
Dude, that'd be like me getting upset because there's a CrossFit gym 2 miles down the road.
Okay,
I'm not going to attract the same people that are going to want to go to Huntington Beach. We're going to attract a different audience. We're going to attract a different set of sponsors. We're going to attract a different set of this. We're going to attract different things. And like hopefully, like we're going to have a live stream. Hopefully, they have a live stream so people can like go and watch both and enjoy both. But we just have. There's too many competitions now, like bigger competitions, to be like, oh, only one this weekend or only one. I really hope that it is a smashing success out at Huntington Beach. I hope they absolutely crush it. I hope it's a great event. I know nothing about it.
But they are notorious for having good adaptive classes, right? The Loud and Live people.
I mean, yeah, they generally contract WheelWOD. WheelWOD usually Wadapalooza. The adaptive Wadapalooza is run by WheelWOD.
So they won't. So will they contract you? Will you have to be in two places at the same time?
No. We already talked to them and discussed it. Like just for this first year and the way they have it planned is for what we've been told. It just didn't make sense to bring in adaptive when they haven't figured out fully what they're going to do with able-bodied yet.
Okay.
And so like nothing there. But there's also no animosity. They're not mad at us. We're not mad at them. Like it's not like how dare you? It's like no, like we're going to attract different people. And that's great.
It sounds like they're going to try some new stuff in regards to competitions in general there at SoCal from talking to Dylan. Are you excited? So are you excited about tell me about the CrossFit Games this year for the adaptive class. Do you know the location and the date?
Yeah. So we have the Open's the same time as the Open. So everyone's going to do the same thing. We'll release on the same day, about 2 hours after. We're going to have a live adaptive announcement 2 hours after the able-bodied so that people can tune in 2 hours later to our channels and watch 3 different adaptive athletes from 3 different categories throw down on the adaptive versions each week. We're going to have a semifinals in May.
Wait a second. You're saying on Thursdays at 1 p.m.
I think 2 p.m.
2 Thursdays on 2 p.m. Will that be on the CrossFit Games YouTube station?
It's going to be on our YouTube. I think we're working on that, working with them to see how much they can help us share it and what their bandwidth is on that. But it'll be on our YouTube. It'll be on our Instagram. We're going to share it as much as possible. But yeah, we're going to have 3 athletes each week. They're going to throw down in the adaptive versions and a local affiliate. And so the first affiliate, because I'm selfish and a turd, we're going to do it at mine for the first week because I want to.
Yeah.
The next week is going to be at CrossFit Arvada. And then the final week is going to be at Neuse River in North Carolina.
When you choose which guys are going to go, are you like, well, we have to include everyone? Or are you like, fuck that, we're choosing the guys who are most interesting? We're going to choose a Swooshy and Tater because people want to see that shit go down. And we're going to choose the guys with the one arms because they're the strongest. And we're going to choose these women because they're the prettiest. Like, do you do it for showmanship?
I
Or are
did
you
it.
like, well, I have to do this? Sorry, I'm
No,
making fun of you, but
I don't have to do anything.
okay, good.
But what I chose to do is
Please tell me you're doing tater and swooshy, please.
no. So
Damn.
we had some couple guidelines from me. This is my guidelines.
Okay.
One, we had to make it cost effective. It's our first year trying to do this.
Fair.
I really want to make sure it was good. So we
Fair.
chose local people around their affiliates. Then we chose people that haven't really been shown, or the categories haven't been shown too much over the last couple of years because they weren't at the actual CrossFit Games.
Okay.
So we have seated athletes going. We have short stature athletes going. We have an AK going. We have
wait, all
upper
again.
going.
Wait. So there'll only be one short stature person going?
No, I mean, yeah, at the time, yeah. So there's going to be Aaron Popovich week 1, and then Blaze Foster week 3. Because they're local to the gyms.
Okay, so okay. Trust me, I understand the money thing. It's crazy. It's crazy bringing people in and hotels and flights and all that. Shit. All right, cool. Well,
So
I want to help promote those too. What a fun
yeah.
thing to do on Thursday. So let me know anything I can do or talk about, or if
we'll
there's
send
people
you
I
all the
should bring on.
information.
Okay, yeah.
It's going to be really cool. We're bringing like all the gyms in.
Any champions? Any champions at any of them? Which week will there be a champion?
Let's see.
I like the champions. I like winners.
So Josh Robinson, week 1, he's the neuro minor champion. Brandon Mance, he's 3rd place in the world right now. He'll be at week 1. Aaron Popovich is the fittest short stature female, so she'll be at week 1. Week 2, we have Lauren Farhat, who competed at the CrossFit Games, but also is the number 1 fittest lower AK currently. Then we have Andrea Wilson that week. She's the fittest seated female without hip function. And then we also have Russell Almendinger, who is one of the fittest neuromuscular majors in the world.
Russell Almendinger?
Yeah.
Almendinger.
Yep.
Damn.
One of the coolest guys. Like, the dude's the nicest dude. He's yes sir, no sir all day. He's just great. I'm pretty sure if I told that dude to run his head into a wall until he made a hole, he would do the exact thing I told him. He's just phenomenal. And then week 3, we have John Heath, who I believe is 2nd or 3rd in the world right now for BK. Blaze Foster, who's 3rd right now in the world for short stature. And Christina Mazzullo, who's number 1 in the world right now for upper 2-point for females.
Let me see this. Oh, is that Russell Almendinger?
Yep.
What a name, dude.
Damn. Yep.
Almendinger. Hey, let me see this.
He's a monster.
Yeah, let me see this Blaze dude.
Blaze Foster is awesome. He's also one of the top lifters in the world right now for the powerlifting team.
Is how did he do last year at the games?
3rd.
And that's the year that Swoosh and Tater tied, right?
Murray? Well, I'm talking about WheelWOD. This last WheelWOD, Tater won, Swoosh was 2nd, and then Blaze was 3rd.
But how about at the game? How about for the games?
He was actually competing for powerlifting, so he didn't do the games. So he competes on the world stage for bench press.
Can he beat Tim or Mikey?
Dude, he's real close, man. The guy works on some skills and drills and some gymnastics stuff, and it's going to be a three-way race this year.
Or all three of the so I guess you don't know who's going because you don't know who's qualified yet.
Yeah, I don't know who's qualified, but I mean, obviously, like if Mikey and Tater and Blaze all try, they're going to qualify. I have no doubt in my mind about that. So like if those 3 go, like it's gonna be a fun show to watch those 3 compete. So he has almost a 300 or right around a 315 bench press, I believe.
Damn. And hey, dude, his arms really aren't that short. That's like how far I push the bar.
Yeah, he's another one who's just a nice guy who's super strong.
All right. Hey, dude, thanks for coming on. Great catching up with you.
Absolutely. I didn't get to tell you the date and time. So September 18th, September 19th to the 22nd in San Antonio for the adaptive CrossFit Games by WheelWOD this year.
Okay. Oh, and that's where who did we have on?
Mike Egan. That's where he lives.
Oh yeah, and that's where the military has that battalion with dudes who have come back with pieces missing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, cool. Shit. All right. Hey, dude, stay in touch. Please let me know anyway. I can blow these guys up. I think I'm gonna reach out to Blaze and see if I can get him on the show.
Be great.
Thanks for everything you do. Just great catching up with you, dude. You the man.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're the realist. All right, cool. Talk to you soon.
Later, guys.
Later,
Bye.
Kevin.
Damn, he's a legit OG. He may have started CrossFit even before I did.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't realize it was that long ago. That's cool.
Fuck. I'm gonna throw him in there with like when you say like, hey, it's cool having people around from the good old days. Throw him in there with Dave and Nicole.
He's there. It's awesome.
I just ordered a little desk on Amazon. Oh, my wife just said she must have heard the show. What is this from? Someone, I just saw a text come in. Sevan, I want to thank you for your professionalism. I don't hear that very often. Who's that from?
Blaze dude is jacked.
Oh yeah. I'm concerned for my boy Tim Murray. I'm a little concerned. Just looking at just judging Blaze by his body. And he's always smiling and looks happy and shit.
Big ol' smile.
Yeah, that can't be good. Can you see comments on X? Yes, thank you. Miss Angel, Mr. Angel, Louis Angel. How you doing, Sergio?
So good, so good.
Who called you Sergio? The Paul Litchfield?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get that. Why did he call you Sergio?
I think he thought that Souza was the one pulling up stuff, and so he couldn't remember Souza's name. So
I'm
he just
Seven
said
and
Sergio.
I'm Seven and Sergio.
Seven and Sergio. Yeah. Thought that was pretty funny.
Hey, dude, Kevin's been through some shit. I don't mean the spinal shit. I just mean like for someone who's been at HQ as long as him. I mean, you've been through some shit, dude. You've seen some like to survive all that shit politically.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Fuck, that's crazy. Oh, what's this? Oh, are you seeing all these videos come in?
Yeah, I was gonna watch them. I was saving them for later so I could watch them.
Damn, look at Emily Rolfe. Holy shit. Are these all promos for the behind the scenes?
Yeah, I'm sure they can be. A good one of Sydney Wells too.
Oh, is that Sydney?
I think so, yeah.
With the pig?
Yep. Damn, she moved that thing really well.
Yeah, I'm so impressed by her. Can you show that? I'm so impressed by her because I don't think of her as a CrossFitter, and she just got her shit together, and now she goes to the games. It's nuts.
You want me to pull it up?
Sure, yeah, let's look at it. I think what Rios is doing, Rios is the guy who put together the behind the scenes, him and Brandstetter, and he's going through and getting ready to just do a massive dump on Reels on the Sevan Podcast Instagram account. Just do a massive dump. Dude, that was a sweet like split right there. She does too, right?
Oh yeah, so smooth.
Yeah. God damn.
When I went to JR's, he has those flip sleds.
Yeah.
Those are so fucking hard.
That thing is right.
That's
Is
like-
it? Oh, it's like
kinda
that,
like
but it's
that.
steel.
Yeah. That's like doing that split thing is not easy. There's so much coordination that goes into it.
Sevan, who's helping out with media at WheelWOD? I have no idea. I can't even think about it. It stresses me out to think about anyone else's media. What do I have here? I thought I had something I wanted to share with you guys. What is this? Freedom of speech. Oh no, I can't do that to Kevin's show. Maybe I won't do an unhinged rant. I don't even have to pee yet.
Skip that portion today.
Yeah, maybe just like we did BAM, we're like, God, that meme is so good. So many people are in my DMs being like, yep, this is your show.
I think it's been about that way for 2 years now.
Just that same guest, BAM, we're live guest, unhinged rant. I have to pee.
Yep.
Oh, look at
You're
Lisa.
consistent.
You're doing Lisa? You're doing the media for WheelWOD? Awesome, good job, girl. Nice hair. Look at your hair.
Oh, she looks put together.
Yeah, she got porcelain skin too. I can't. All these events require so much support. If people are going to see them, the world's going to see them. We're just our little I shouldn't say it's little. Our open event's going to be crazy, wild, and good, and we're trying to figure out how to do it with the most limited resources we can. I need to hoard and keep all that money myself. Can't be like,
you needed to buy desks for your kids.
Yes.
Put in time out.
Jedediah Nelson, be equal opportunity, Sevan, rants for all. There's this, I just, the ones that I have today are just so brutal. They're just brutal. They're just brutal. You think Biden's going to run for office, Caleb?
I think he said he was going to. Yeah, I think he's.
You think he's going to? It seems like there's just so much noise in the space that about someone else is going to run. That can you look up lame duck for me? What does that mean, lame duck? Lame. They basically don't want to say who's really going to run because they don't want him to become a lame duck president.
Oh my God!
What?
You should see this definition. This is crazy. An official, especially the president, in the final period of office after the election of successor, an ineffectual or unsuccessful person or thing.
Yeah. So they're basically saying that if they announce Michelle Obama is going to run, that this dude in office, Biden, everyone will get off his jock, right? Like right now he has all the power, so everyone's riding his dick. But if they say Michelle Obama is going to run or Gavin Newsom is going to run, Gruesome Newsom, that he'll just turn into a lame duck president, just completely ineffective.
I mean, isn't he already?
I have a friend who has intimate contact with the White House, and they said it's just straight Game of Thrones there, that basically Biden is just completely gorked, and that it's just all these different factions vying for power, and that it's nuts.
Yeah, you just
absolutely nuts.
Little tribes of people trying to take over.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama said she doesn't want to run for office because she saw what her husband went through.
Wah, wah, wah.
But I'm like, nah, you could be convinced, I think.
I thought that they were, what I thought they were going to do is they were going to start running the ticket. I thought they were going to say that, I thought the Dems were going to say, instead of saying it's a vote for Trump or Biden, that they were going to say it's a vote for freedom or not freedom. Like they were going to start just painting it, instead of acknowledging that Biden was running, they were going to paint it as it's just freedom versus not freedom. That way you don't even have to think about who you're voting for. You don't have to think about, hey, you're voting this senile man into office. You can just think it's voting for freedom. Which is just absolutely nuts. It's the opposite of freedom. Listen, if you're confused and you're not sure who to vote for, or like you want to focus on all the bad things that Trump does or the bad things that Biden does, you have to get your head wrapped around this. There's like 3 things you want. You want freedom of speech, you want safety in the society, and you want to be able to own property. Like besides that, the rest of the stuff you don't really need to care about too much. You need those. You don't get freedom of speech with the Dems. That's everyone can agree on that, right? Even the Dems can agree on that, right?
No, I think that they think that they're giving freedom of speech.
Someone show me where you can't do freedom of speech as anything else besides a Dem. I can give you 10 examples of where you don't get freedom of speech as a Dem. You're not allowed to get second opinions on the injection in California from doctors. You have to go with the WHO guidelines. That's Dems. Twitter completely censored before, kicked off the president of the United States. We have to have freedom of speech. We will completely go down the shithole without freedom of speech. And then we need safety. Right? So that's like close the border, can't allow people to be robbing stores.
Second Amendment.
Have to stop saying that white people are bad. Second Amendment. You have to be honest. Like when you're like, hey, why are there so many black people in jail? You have to be honest and say, hey, because of if you're going to categorize people by the color of their skin, you have to realize that 6% of the population, which is black males, commits 48% of all the murders. Like you have to be able to acknowledge those things. Then you have to be able to say, hey, it's not appropriate to categorize people as skin color because it's not a fact. It's just a correlate. We have to just be honest about those things. Stop being afraid. Pussies. Bunch of pussies. And I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. I'm not saying like it shouldn't piss you off. Although, like I said a couple of months ago, maybe Caleb can still find it. Citibank in Los Angeles had a policy in place not to fucking loan money to people with the last name IAN or YAN. That means they didn't even look at us to judge us on our skin color. They just didn't like the spelling of our name. And you know why that is? Because probably Armenians weren't paying back their shit. Look at this, Los Angeles city, and this is by the way, there's millions of Armenians in Los Angeles. That's what's so funny. It's like they rule Los Angeles. Citibank CEO apologizes for bank's discrimination against Armenian Americans. Discrimination. It's a great story. I love it that my people are oppressed. Deeply sorry for its discrimination against Armenian Americans. CEO Jane Fraser said Tuesday, December 6th, during testimony before a Senate Banking Committee. On November 8th, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau fined $26 million. What did they exactly say? What does it say exactly what they said? We found a small number of employees that were not following city policy and have taken action to make things right and prevent any. What did they say? They said if they smell like baklava. The bank targeted applicants with the names ending in IAN and YAN, including those living in or around Glendale. Yeah, that's like the Armenian capital, which is home to about 15% of the Armenian American population. It's got to be more than that. I was thinking about this the other day. Why would anyone not like Jews? Like if there's a lot of Jews in an area, it's safe, it's clean, there's good food, there's Nobel Prize winners, there's great arts. There's nowhere in the United States where you can point to a Jewish community and there's anything bad going on. Why would anyone not like Jewish people? Like all the innovation, the movies, all these basketball teams, they're all owned by Jews. It's all Jew. Like how do you not like Jews? Everything, all the good shit comes from Jews. All the innovation, all the smart Japanese people are just studying shit that Jews taught them. Jews innovated. Someone the other day, someone's like, man, they're everywhere where there's good shit. And I go, basketball's pretty cool. There's no Jews there. And they're like, the team owners. I was like, oh yeah, forgot. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Very good point.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Pool Boy's chick is something else. Holy fuck. Oh my God. You ever trolled this? Have you ever looked at, you're married. But let's talk about her afterwards, Caleb. Okay. Jesus criminy. What a piece of work she is. Is this mic on? Shit. Fuck. I love it. Thank you. All right. Enough of that. I'm getting out of control. Oh, you're going to Australia, huh? For 6 months? Jesus. Oh, Jesus, pool boy. Oh, my God.
Oh.
Okay. Heidi Kroom, I thought pool boy was into boys. Me too. That broke my heart. Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy. You can't leave that thing for 6 months. That thing has to be serviced every hour. Pool boy has to be serviced on the reg.
That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, that is fucked up. Julia. Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow.
He listens to gay country. Is that Beyonce's new album? Is that what he listens to?
Where did I see this? These comments in this thread. I'm building up to maybe showing something in my notes. I don't know if I should do it. Play it. There are these there's this thread, and it's pretty there's this post on Instagram. It's pretty fucking nasty. It's a TED Talk trying to justify pedophilia, but the comments are so funny. The comments are so funny. Hey, did you see the basketball player, 6 foot tall basketball player, high school basketball player, grab the ball from the girl and throw her on the ground? He's playing girls basketball. Have you seen that thing going around?
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that.
And good for the coach, right? The coach is like, they tapped out at halftime. They're like, we're not playing anymore.
Yeah, that's fucked up. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Listen, like there's people you want to live by. You want to live by Jews and Mormons. That's who you want. You want to live by them. You don't want to listen. You don't want to live. You don't want to live next to a frat house, right?
Hell no.
There's you don't 22-year-old rich white boys. You don't want to live next to them. You don't want to listen to a house. You don't want to live next to a house of aspiring rappers. House of 22-year-old black kids smoking weed all the time. You don't want to listen next to them either.
Bumping music.
Yeah. There's things people, but you do want to live next to Jews and Mormons. It's okay. Gay Asian dudes, perfect. Will Brandstetter, take it easy on the frat house, dude. There's
he lives in a frat house.
Nasty. All right. Oh, my backwart's like almost gone. My backwart's almost gone. You know what's funny? She froze it off like a week ago, and it's still there, but I'm feeling it now, and it's like it's really getting small. I'm so glad to. I'm glad to rekindle with Kevin Ogar because one, there is a lot of drama. I'm never sure where people are falling in the scope of like do they hate me or do they not hate me because I love Jews so much? And I guess he doesn't hold it against me that I love Jews so much. I like Nobel Prize winners.
That's a good thing.
People who invent electricity, have streets that without potholes. Back nub. Yeah, I have a residual back nub. I wonder if I could enter an adaptive class.
Residual back nub.
As much as I love Kevin, I so want some fucking weirdo to fucking normie to try to enter the adaptive division so he has to deal with it. I just want to, just so I can talk about it. You know what I mean? I so want a dude to try to enter the female. I so want Fraser to fucking enter the women's division.
There's so many divisions. There's so many options. You can come up with something probably.
I so want. It would be so fun to just watch CrossFit have to deal with all the weird shit that's happening. No, that guy's disgusting. Please.
I am not pulling that up.
Thank you. Are you fucking kidding me?
That's so fucked up. I can't. I watched like 30 seconds of it and I just wanted to fucking off myself. It was horrible. It's fucking gross.
How is that even a success? Who watches that?
Millions of people, apparently.
Yeah.
That's
Turntable. As a former maintenance man, frat boys are 10 times worse than Section 810s. Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. Hey, that's the thing, too. That there you go. Like, no one should ever have to live near Section 8. I live in the only place there's, like, really gnarly crime in my town is the Section 8 housing. Same one when I was in Berkeley. Why even have Section 8 housing? Just the criminals live there. The school, it's supposed to be like for school teachers and like cops and firefighters and shit, I guess, but it never is. Pool boy, Sevi, my girlfriend's gonna smash the occupational games this year. Hey, dude, if she's leaving for 6 months, she ain't your girlfriend, dude. When she's in Australia, someone's gonna be smashing her. Take note. Your ex-girlfriend's gonna be smashed the occupational games this year. Take that. But that'll be fun anyway. And when you say smash, what do you mean? Like she gonna take first?
As long as she stays away from the crayons, she'll be okay.
The crayons?
Yeah, she's a Marine. She eats crayons.
Oh, nice. Heard that about those guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Jose. Of course you were raised in Section 8. Your name's fucking Jose. I was raised in Section 8. I turned out okay. Yeah, you can turn out okay. Dude, I was raised in a fucking shithole neighborhood. I turned out okay, too. I'm just saying. You stole shit, too, right, Jose? Like, we stole shit. You stole shit. You threw rocks at cars. You did bad shit. I know. Everyone's parents were home fucking drunk, smoking crack. Someone's dad was always arrested. People park motorcycles on the sidewalk. He's going to visit me in Australia. Jesus Christ. You live in fucking fairyland. You should just, Julia, you should just point to 5 girls and be like, okay, just stay within those 5, please. Like, just live in, just add a big old dose of reality to your world. My goodness. CK Kevin. I was the guy with a gun. I was raised in a trailer that was destroyed by a tornado. I turned out okay, too. Man, look at this tension between Heidi and Pool Boy. He doesn't have a job, so he might as well come along. Yeah. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough.
That's where we draw the line.
That's enough. Okay. Final word, Julia Cook. I'm not sharing it. Maybe gay guys since he listens to Gay Country all the time. Fair enough. Love you guys. What is today? Oh, tomorrow. Is today Tuesday? What's today?
Today's Tuesday.
Okay, so tomorrow, look, we got a fun week. So much fun shit coming up. Tomorrow we got Greg Glassman. Then we have Rafa Sanson, if I don't cancel on him. Then we have Shut Up and Scribble. And then on Friday is going to be the fun show. This guy's been on before. He took Instagram by storm by eating all sorts of raw shit at Whole Foods for like 800 days. He'd just be eating the raw octopus. All he ate was raw shit for 800 days. And now he's has a raw chicken account. All he does is eat raw chicken. So we know what Pool Boy will be eating when Julia's